Before computers, before wind tunnels, engineers built trucks with pure imagination. Some had jet-style noses. Some were taller than houses. Others looked more like tanks than vehicles. These weren't movie props or concept art. They were real machines that hauled, worked, and shocked everyone who saw them. Most people today wouldn't believe they ever existed. Get ready to discover 10 insane vintage trucks you won't believe were real. Machines so wild they rewrote what a truck could be. Number 1. LeTourneau TC-497 Overland Train. In the late 1950s, the United States Army faced a problem no ordinary vehicle could solve. The Arctic had become strategically vital during the Cold War, but there were no roads, only endless ice, snow, and broken terrain. Building highways across that environment was impossible. Aircraft were expensive and unreliable in polar conditions. What the Army needed was a vehicle that could move enormous loads across hundreds of miles of wilderness without roads, bridges, or support infrastructure. What they received looked like science fiction made of steel. Built by R.G. LeTourneau Inc., the TC-497 Overland train was not a truck in the normal sense. It was a land train over 170 feet long, composed of a lead tractor and multiple articulated cargo cars. Each segment had its own powered wheels driven by electric motors. The diesel engines in the lead unit generated electricity which was distributed through cables along the entire train, giving traction to every axle. This meant the TC-497 was not dragging dead weight. Every wheel pushed. The vehicle could carry more than 150 tons of cargo. It had sleeping quarters, a kitchen, and crew compartments. It was designed to operate for weeks in total isolation. Its steering system allowed the entire train to follow the path of the lead unit, bending smoothly like a mechanical serpent across snowfields and ice ridges, and it worked. The Overland train completed extensive test missions in Alaska and Canada, traversing terrain that would destroy conventional trucks. It crossed frozen rivers. It climbed slopes. It carried prefabricated structures, fuel, and equipment to regions no wheeled vehicle had ever reached. But it was born at the wrong moment in history. By the early 1960s, heavy-lift helicopters and improved aircraft changed Arctic logistics. Air transport became more flexible. The Army abandoned the land train concept. The TC-497 was retired and eventually scrapped. Yet for a brief window in time, a machine longer than a football field roamed the polar wilderness, proving that the boundary between road and no road could be erased by engineering. It was real, it moved, and nothing like it has ever existed again. Number 2. ZIL-2906. When the Soviet Union began launching cosmonauts into space, it encountered an unexpected problem. Capsules did not always land where planned. Some fell into swamps. Others dropped into deep snow, forests, or frozen lakes. Conventional vehicles could not reach them. Helicopters could not always land. Every minute mattered. The solution was one of the strangest vehicles ever built. The ZIL-2906 was not driven by wheels or tracks. It moved using two massive rotating screws, giant metal cylinders with spiral ridges. As they turned, the vehicle crawled forward over snow, mud, marshland, and even thin ice. It could float, it could climb out of water, it could cross terrain where wheels would sink and tracks would stall. Developed in the 1970s, the ZIL-2906 became part of the Soviet space recovery system. It was transported to landing zones by a larger truck and then deployed into terrain that no normal vehicle could enter. Its job was simple: reach downed cosmonauts no matter where Earth had thrown them. The cabin was sealed and heated. Inside, rescue crews carried medical equipment and survival supplies. The machine was slow, often moving at walking speed, but unstoppable. Snowdrifts, bogs, frozen rivers, broken ice, none of it mattered. The screws bit into everything. Watching one move feels unreal. It looks like a boat without water, a tank without tracks, a machine invented by a civilization from another planet. Yet it served for decades, rescuing real human beings from lethal environments. It was not experimental. It was operational, and it saved lives. Modern Russia still maintains descendants of this design, because nothing else can do what it does. Number 3. MAZ-543 Hurricane. In the 1960s, the Soviet Union faced a logistical challenge that bordered on the impossible. Intercontinental ballistic missiles were growing larger, heavier, and more complex. Rail transport was predictable and vulnerable. Fixed launch sites could be targeted. What the Soviet military needed was mobility, the ability to move nuclear weapons across thousands of kilometers, hide them in forests, deserts, and tundra, and launch them from anywhere. The answer was the MAZ-543. This was not a truck in the civilian sense. It was a mobile weapons platform disguised as a road vehicle. Designed by the Minsk automobile plant, the MAZ-543 was an 8-wheel drive monster powered by a massive diesel engine. It featured an unusual split cab, 2 separate driver compartments on either side of the engine bay, so that enormous missiles could be carried down the center of the chassis. The truck could haul loads exceeding 20 tons across unpaved roads, mud, snow, and sand. Its suspension allowed each wheel to move independently, maintaining traction on broken terrain. The MAZ-543 became the backbone of the Soviet mobile missile force, carrying Scud and later ballistic missile systems. What makes it insane is not just its size, but its purpose. This truck was a moving piece of the Cold War. Every kilometer it drove carried the weight of global tension. It could vanish into forests, park beneath camouflage nets, and remain hidden until ordered to fire. To the public, it looked like a strange industrial hauler. To military planners, it was a roaming launch pad capable of changing the balance of power. Thousands were built. Many remain in service or in storage even today. It represents a moment when a truck was no longer a tool of commerce, but a weapon of strategy. A vehicle designed not to deliver goods, but to deliver apocalypse. Number 4. Oshkosh P-15 Airport Crash Truck. In the early jet age, airports faced a terrifying new danger. Jet fuel burned hotter and faster than anything before it. Aircraft grew larger. Fires became more violent. Ordinary fire trucks were no longer enough. Oshkosh responded with something radical. The P-15 crash truck was built in the 1960s as a purpose-made aircraft rescue and firefighting machine. It was huge, wide, and brutally powerful. It carried thousands of liters of water and foam. It accelerated faster than most road vehicles of its era. It was designed to reach a burning aircraft in seconds, but its most shocking feature was its optional jet engine. Some P-15 units were fitted with an auxiliary jet turbine that could blast, extinguishing foam at hurricane force. The jet created a high-velocity stream capable of cutting through flames and pushing fire back from trapped passengers. It looked like a fighter engine bolted onto a fire truck. These machines were not for show. They were deployed at major airports during a period when jet crashes were frequent and catastrophic. Crews trained to operate in conditions that would kill ordinary firefighters. The P-15 could race across runways at highway speeds, stop on a dime, and unleash a wall of suppression powerful enough to change the course of an inferno. Watching archival footage of one in action feels unreal. Flames tower into the sky. The truck charges forward. Then a roaring blast of foam and wind tears the fire apart like a storm. It was a truck built for the edge of disaster, not for roads, not for cities, but for the moment when seconds separate life from death. Number 5. The walking truck. In the 1960s, as mining companies pushed deeper into remote mountains and uneven terrain, engineers confronted a fundamental problem. Wheels failed on steep rock faces, tracks destroyed fragile ground, and could not grip irregular surfaces. Conventional trucks simply could not reach certain locations. General Electric decided to abandon both wheels and tracks entirely and attempt something no road vehicle had ever done before. They built a walking truck, officially called the GE Walking Truck. It was a 6-legged machine powered by hydraulics and controlled by a human operator inside a small cab. Each leg ended in a massive circular foot. Instead of rolling, the vehicle stepped. One leg lifted, moved forward, and planted. Then another followed. The entire body rose and shifted like a steel insect. It was designed for open-pit mining and extreme terrain where even tracked vehicles failed. The walking truck could climb slopes too steep for any wheeled machine. It could step over obstacles rather than push through them. Its weight was distributed across multiple contact points, reducing ground pressure and preventing it from sinking into soft earth. Operating the vehicle required intense concentration. The driver controlled each leg's movement through a complex system of levers. The process was slow. The machine moved at a pace measured in meters per minute, but it could go where nothing else could. To observers, it looked unreal. A truck that lifted itself off the ground, shifted its own weight, and marched across rock and dirt felt like a creature rather than a machine. Yet it functioned. It hauled equipment and tools across terrain previously considered unreachable. Ultimately, the walking truck proved too complex and slow for widespread industrial use. Advances in tracked and articulated vehicles overtook it. But for a moment in history, engineers believed the future of heavy transport might walk rather than roll. The GE walking truck stands as one of the strangest vehicles ever built, a reminder that when engineers confront impossible landscapes, they sometimes abandon centuries of convention and invent something entirely new. Number 6. Antarctic Snow Cruiser. In 1939, the United States launched one of the most ambitious scientific expeditions ever attempted, a permanent research mission to Antarctica. The environment was unlike anything humanity had faced. There were no roads. Temperatures plunged below 50 degrees. Snow and ice stretched endlessly in every direction. Explorer Richard E. Byrd wanted a vehicle that could serve as a mobile base, part truck, part laboratory, part shelter. The result was the Antarctic Snow Cruiser. At over 17 meters long and weighing more than 34 tons, it was massive. Inside, it contained living quarters, a kitchen, fuel storage, a workshop, and scientific equipment. It could carry a small aircraft on its roof. The idea was revolutionary. Scientists would live inside the vehicle while traversing the Antarctic interior, eliminating the need for fixed camps. Its wheels were enormous, over 3 meters tall, and could be retracted into the body to allow the cruiser to climb out of crevasses. Powered by diesel-electric drive, it was meant to glide over snow like a ship across water. But reality was harsher than theory. On Antarctic snow, the tires failed to grip. The vehicle struggled to move even on gentle slopes. Crews attempted modifications, wrapping chains and adding traction aids, but the cruiser never achieved its intended mobility. It became a stationary base rather than a roaming one. Yet calling it a failure misses its significance. The snow cruiser was real. It reached Antarctica. It operated in the most hostile environment on Earth. It embodied a belief that roads themselves could be replaced by machines. Abandoned in 1941, it was later rediscovered, partially buried in ice. For decades, it lay frozen in time, a monument to human ambition. Eventually, shifting ice carried it out to sea, where it disappeared forever. The Antarctic Snow Cruiser remains one of the boldest transport experiments ever built. A truck designed not to travel on Earth as we know it, but on a continent that barely allows life itself. Number 7. Terex Titan. In the mid-1970s, mining operations were expanding at a scale never seen before. Open-pit mines grew so vast that moving material efficiently became a greater challenge than extracting it. Every minute lost meant millions in operational cost. Engineers realized that the only solution was to build trucks so large that they could move entire mountains in fewer trips. Terex answered with the Titan. Unveiled in 1978, the Terex Titan was the largest road-going truck ever built at the time. It stood over 20 feet tall, weighed more than 230 tons empty, and could carry a payload exceeding 350 tons. Its tires alone were taller than a human. The cab was so high that operators climbed ladders like fire escape stairs just to reach it. The Titan was powered by a diesel-electric drivetrain, similar in concept to locomotives. A massive diesel engine generated electricity for wheel-mounted motors. This allowed precise torque control across all axles and eliminated the need for a traditional transmission. It was not built as a concept. It worked. The Titan served for years in Canadian oil sand operations, hauling ore across landscapes that looked more like the surface of another planet than Earth. Its presence rewrote what truck meant. It was no longer a vehicle for roads. It was a mobile industrial structure. Standing beside it, People looked like insects. When mining technology advanced further, the Titan became obsolete. It was eventually placed in a museum, where it remains today, preserved as a monument to scale. Even among modern ultra-class mining trucks, it retains a mythical status. The Titan is insane, not because it looks strange, but because it shifts perspective. It forces the human mind to recalibrate size. It reminds us that truck can mean anything from a delivery van to a moving building. Number 8. Kraz 255 LeTourneau. Where Western trucks evolved for highways, the Soviet Union built vehicles for wilderness. Vast areas of the USSR had no paved roads. Mud, snow, sand, and marsh defined daily transport. The Kraz 255 was engineered to survive in that world. Introduced in the 1960s, the Kraz 255 was a 6x6 heavy-duty truck with enormous low-pressure tires. Its nickname, LeTourneau, came from traditional Russian shoes made of woven bark, wide, soft, and designed not to sink. The truck's tires behaved the same way. It could drive through deep mud that swallowed ordinary vehicles. It crossed rivers. It hauled artillery, fuel, bridges, and construction equipment into places no road reached. It was brutally simple, loud, heavy, and unstoppable. Driving one was an ordeal. The steering lacked power assistance in early versions. The cab shook violently. Heat was minimal in winter. Noise was constant. Yet drivers trusted it because it never quit. What made the Kraz 255 insane was not complexity, but raw physicality. It looked like a machine carved from iron. Its proportions were primitive, almost prehistoric. In photographs, it appears more like a moving bunker than a truck. Thousands were built. Many remain in service across Eastern Europe, Asia, and Africa. It became a symbol of Soviet engineering philosophy: strength over comfort, endurance over elegance. It is a truck built not for roads, but for the absence of roads. Number 9. Unimog 404. The Mercedes-Benz Unimog was conceived after World War II as a universal motor device. The 404 series, introduced in the 1950s, became its most famous military variant. Unlike heavy haulers, the Unimog was compact, but its abilities bordered on supernatural. Portal axles gave it extreme ground clearance. All-wheel drive and locking differentials allowed it to crawl over rocks, snow, and trenches. Its suspension articulation let each wheel climb independently. It could climb slopes steeper than many tracked vehicles. It could ford rivers. It could traverse forests, deserts, and mountains. It became the standard light truck for dozens of armies. The Unimog looked strange because it defied proportions: small body, tall stance, narrow frame, massive clearance. It appeared top-heavy, yet it rarely tipped. Its engineering allowed it to remain stable at angles that would overturn normal vehicles. Farmers, firefighters, militaries, and explorers adopted it. It became not just a truck, but a tool platform. Snowplow, ambulance, radio vehicle, crane, tractor. The 404 proved that size was not required for dominance. Intelligence of design could replace brute force. It was not flashy. It was not fast. But it went where nothing else could. Number 10. Tatra T813. Kolos. The Tatra T813, introduced in the late 1960s, was built for one purpose: to move heavy loads through environments that destroyed ordinary trucks. Like its predecessors, it used Tatra's backbone chassis and swinging axles, but scaled to a monstrous 8x8 platform. The Kolos variant became legendary in military and industrial service. It hauled missile systems, bridge layers, and massive equipment across forests, mountains, and frozen terrain. Its air-cooled engine allowed operation in extreme climates. Its driveline distributed power across all 8 wheels with relentless consistency. What made the T813 insane was how calmly it ignored terrain. Where other trucks slowed, it continued. Where roads ended, it did not notice. It looked like a fortress on wheels. Tall, angular, armored in steel. It was not elegant. It was inevitable. Even today, footage of a T813 climbing slopes that defeat modern vehicles feels unreal. It does not struggle, it advances. The T813 represents the extreme end of truck evolution, a machine built for worlds without infrastructure, a truck that does not ask where the road is. It becomes the road. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching.